Hello, everybody. So we are having a quick break time brew with three Cognita teachers who you may know, you may not know them. We've got Andrew Hodder, who's from Oakley House in Swansea, who is a Year 4 teacher. We've got Caroline Dowling from St Mary's Preparatory School. And we've got Lydia Cartwright, who's from Duncombe School in Hertfordshire. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So, can I just ask each of you, how long have you been using Learning by Questions? I'll start with you, Andrew, and we'll go around the room.
Learning by Questions, it pretty much got launched on the first lockdown, which was perfect timing. The children had just been issued with their one-to-one devices as well. And we took it up during lockdown. So the head teacher asked me to look at it and see if it was going to be of any value. When I came back into when lockdown had finished, we came back in and looked at it in even more detail. We had the training with Helen, and it got launched from there. So I'd say it's been about a year and a half, I would think, that we've been using LBQ.
Best year and a half of your life.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Caroline, how long have you been using it? For the same length of time, or are you new?
Yeah, in fact, exactly the same as Andrew. We just got our one-to-one devices, and then we launched it in the first lockdown. So exactly the same.
Did it feel easy to get set up, or get going with it?
Yeah, remarkably easy. Actually, I was really surprised, and I am actually quite techie, so I do computing at school. But I was surprised how quickly the children picked it up. They just straight away used it and understood how to use it and got on with it straight away. So yeah, it was fantastic in that way.
Brilliant, brilliant. Lydia, how did you find adoption over at your school?
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward, I must admit. We came to Learning by Questions about 9 months ago. So sort of when we come back after lockdown.
Yeah.
And I was sort of, designated the champion for it across the school. So I had my initial training with Helen, and then obviously I trained some of the staff here at school to roll it out to our children, to our older children, so our years 4 to 6 are the ones who currently use it.
And what was staff reaction like? I mean, Caroline says, admittedly, she's a bit techie, but some teachers might be thinking, oh, I'm not techie, and is this going to be a complete nightmare learning this new system?
Absolutely. I think the first win for me was the fact that I think that staff feel a bit overwhelmed with logins for children. They have a login for this site and a login for that. And the beauty with LBQ was when it arrived, obviously the children select their own passcode, but you can remind the children of that. So there's no need to sort of capture that data anywhere. So I think the fact that we had that from the get-go really sold it to the teaching staff. They thought, right, this is going to be a simple interface.
I second that, actually. Because
did you find that as well, Andrew?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that you can just go onto a website and the children don't even have to log in, so you could have the untracked class. We've now started to use the track classes and looking at analysing the data in more detail. But the fact that they could just log in as an untracked class, and then obviously when they do have their own logins, the fact you can just click remind or reset and the children can just do it instantly, I thought was absolutely brilliant. Because that's one of the biggest problems our staff have when they have new devices or new systems, is they forget their login or they forget their team's password. And the fact that you can just do it so quickly is brilliant. I think the ease of access for the children and the staff is first class.
How long does it take on average to start an LBQ lesson?
It can take, like I said previously, we can basically start it within minutes. I mean, it can be spontaneous. We could be doing something in class and think, oh, actually, there's an LBQ that will go alongside that to reinforce what I'm teaching. The children love using their devices to log on. So you can get an LBQ up within 2 minutes, I would say. And the children can be logged in and working and answering questions. The fact that they can write on the screen as well, they all love that. So especially in maths, they've got lots of visual questions on LBQ. They can click on their whiteboards and they can work away on the screens as well. And I think that's brilliant. You can see lots of good learning going on as you walk around the classroom.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. So the fact that you can start really, really fast, you can start within 2 minutes, you can find something that you can use with your class straight away. Has LBQ then freed up more time for you as teachers, or made your time be able to use it more efficiently, would you say? Caroline, what would you say to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been just wonderful for my classes. So when I teach year 4, 5 and 6, which is the classes I teach, sometimes I don't remember from last year. So I actually use the preview from the year before. So they have a test, end of topic test, and I use those. Yeah, and I use those to see what they've remembered, and then I can plan my teaching going forward. So I find that really, really handy. So that's how mostly I do a topic review, see what they've remembered, then plan the lessons forward. And I agree with Andrew. I think the writing on the screen, especially for a lot of my dyslexic children, has been revolutionary. A lot of children don't want to put any pen and paper if they've got, you know, a lot of learning difficulties, and the planning for those children can be quite tricky.
Yeah.
And the planning, there's no planning needed for those children now. They can go straight on their devices, write on the screen, and go straight into the question set. So no, being absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, Lydia, you're nodding away at that.
Yeah, I was, Heather, I was going to say at the other end of the spectrum as well. We've got a VAP provision here, so very able pupil provision here at Duncombe. And for me, I find equally, yes, it's wonderful those children that might need a little bit more of support in terms of overlearning, opportunities for overlearning. But also what we found is that it's fantastic to stretch on more able children.
Yeah.
So today in a history lesson, we were that was linked to Black History Month. Lots of the children had finished the activity that was set, and I was able to just set them off onto LBQ in a matter of minutes, and they were able to access actually some work from the year group above them, and really be extended and challenged in that lesson. So it's really helpful in that way as well.
So in a kind of ballpark figure, over a week, let's say, what kind of amount of time do you think it kind of saves you compared to how life was before LBQ?
Well, it saves in marking as well, because it's auto marked, obviously. I don't know, it's got to be a good few hours a week, you know, of planning time. I mean, like I say, you can use the calendar feature, which is on LBQ, which is great. So you can plan ahead and think, oh, actually, you know, I'm going to teach this on this day. I'll see if there's an LBQ, you can pop it in. But yeah, you can also pick it up straight away. So I don't know, I'd say 5 to 6 hours a week at least, I would think. You know, in regards to planning.
That's enormous. That's like almost like a whole school day given back to you in time.
And all the resources are prepped for you. I know it links to the White Rose maths as well, which we do use higher up the school in year 5 and 6. We also use the abacus, but maths is maths, you know. The White Rose scheme and the abacus scheme, they link together. So yeah, there's loads of resources on there as well, and it's continuously being updated. But yeah, I mean, with regards to planning and resources, and if we were to make those question sets ourselves, you know, saves an enormous amount of time.
Caroline's face then, yeah, no, don't make me do it. Okay, brilliant. So has LBQ, that's brilliant for you guys. And have you started to be able to see, you know, a difference in the academic progress that your pupils are making? You know, that's the rub here. Are we able to help these children make greater progress? Lydia, what would you say about it?
Well, you know, we've only adopted LBQ for 9 months, so we don't have any sort of summative data to reflect that yet, because it's very hard for us, because we introduced it mid-academic year. Yeah, it's difficult to us to see, you know, what's actually reflected in our data and what isn't. So we're going to obviously look very closely at that this year. But I would say, just anecdotally from staff, I think, and I know we'll talk about that later, perhaps, I think from a self-esteem and a confidence point of view, I think that's where we've seen the greatest gains in children really becoming, I mean, they're excited. When I say we're going to do an LBQ, a cheer goes up. I don't know if you feel that the same, Caroline and Andrew. Yeah, it's so well received from the children. It seems like such an enjoyable part of the lesson for them.
Which is great, isn't it? Without gimmicks, without cartoons, without anything. They just, the motivation of doing better, seeing those green dots.
Absolutely. And I think for them as well, it's the instant feedback. I think, you know, have the matrix on the board. I can see if a child is finding an area particularly challenging, or if the group is, I'm able to address that misconception on the spot, work it through with the children. They then get the question right. That's reinforcing for them. They grow in confidence. So the whole thing, you know, the confidence just builds from there, really. And that's palpable. You can see that when you walk into the classroom.
Confidence is the bedrock of learning, isn't it? You're not going to be able to do anything without that.
We're talking about assessment data, maybe long term, but as you say, it's been quite a short period of time. You know, for me, assessment is on the spot as well. And the fact that you can see the children answering the questions there and there on the screen, you can pick up, you can pause the children if there's an area of weakness. You can plug gaps. I think the fact that the massive value for LBQ is being instant,
Yeah.
and the fact that you can address things there and then. I think that's really impactful. And the children really like that. The fact that they know that they can put their hand up and ask a question if they're stuck. But the fact that you can address problems there and there straight away, and you can see it so visual.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, no,
Sorry, go on, Caroline. I was going to say, do you find that how many questions are children answering when they do a learning by questions compared to a worksheet?
so many more. What I think is really interesting is that there's so many children who would rush through. And I think that even the children who are rushing through now looking, because I hide the names, I don't put the names on the screen.
Sure.
I think it's better, but they can see their progress, and I think most of them know who they are, but they say, oh, Dowling, I've suddenly got a few wrong. And I said, yes, because I've noticed that you answer one, then you answer it again straight away. Have you looked at the clue? Have you thought about it again? And it's actually slowing down those children, and it's making them have less mistakes, which is huge, because some of my most able, they rush through to get to the last questions, and now they've realized, actually, we call it a sea of greens. I said, I want to see that sea of greens. Let's just take your time.
Lydia's going to borrow that. I can see that. That's going to be one that she's going to
It's
use.
brilliant, and I love it. And actually, in parents' evening, it gives me that conversation to talk to parents about those children and say, actually, they're doing well, but I've noticed that now they're doing better because they can see they have to slow down and take their time and do the workings out. So,
learning to learn.
They only get their score, won't they? If they get it green, they only get their mark if it's green first time. Otherwise, the score won't increase.
We always like seeing some oranges because it means that we're pushing that learning a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But I do know what you mean. So have any of you got some great anecdotes about confidence resilience, more specifically in any of your lessons or with any of your children?
Yeah, I've got a child who's actually going to do an entrance exam to a school that is only doing an online entrance exam. So I've actually, for exam club, for practice for him, I'm pulling out questions and making my own question sets for him. And that's been really helpful to him because he won't be doing a paper copy. He's only going to sit for this school. So that's been really good. And his mum said that's really built his confidence because he didn't want to do any exams where he had to write anything down. I mean, I've got loads of stories, but him in particular, that comes to mind. It's been great for him.
Yeah. Andrew, how about you? I mean, we've got stories from schools around here. We have a local called the Wobbly Girls Club about girls' confidence in maths. Everyone's nodding. So are you seeing anything like that?
My split this year, we've got some very high flying boys, and then I've got some girls who have got dyslexia. So the thing with LBQ that I really like is that I can dip into any year 3 or possibly year 2 work. And when you add it as a task, it doesn't come up year 2 reading. So I can actually set those children onto that task without them realizing they're doing something perhaps a little bit easier to try and develop their confidence and self-esteem. One area I wouldn't mind you looking into would be, is there an immersive reader for any of the questions for children with?
Not yet, but I will definitely have a look into that and come back to you about it.
Yeah, because some of the children, if they obviously some of the questions can be a bit wordy, so they just need somebody to help read the question.
Do you ever pair up, do peer-to-peer or anything like that?
They do sit by people, but I mean, this particular group of girls, they're sort of on the same table and they want to sit by each other because they don't sit by boys. And
no outsiders welcome.
Exactly. They've been thick as thieves all the way through, So, but it would be interesting to see if there was a little speakerphone icon just to hear that. That, would be, I think, quite useful. I don't know.
We're always listening and developing this. The whole thing with Learning by Questions is that we developed it alongside teachers. So I will definitely take that back. You were not the only person who suggested that as well. So we'll see where we can take it in the future. We're also trying to keep it very simple and easy to use, like you said, in minutes. And so you don't want to put too many buttons and things on. So we'll see where it goes. So I've got one last question for you because break time is nearly over and everyone will have to race back to their classrooms any moment now. But what would you say if I told you we were taking LBQ away from you tomorrow?
I would be very upset, actually. The children love it, the staff love it. As we said, the ease of access, the ease of use, the value of the data afterwards, the way that we can sort of mix up our teaching as well, so it's not just chalk and talk, we can get the devices out. And we love all the visual stuff in LBQ. I know the children would be devastated if that went, because they really enjoy it. And like you say, you can pitch it at certain levels without the children realizing perhaps they're doing something slightly different. But you can also challenge the more able as well. Some of the reasoning questions as they move on through problem solving and reasoning questions really challenge the brightest in the class. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's getting the children working at a level that suits them, and LBQ hits that.
Put your hand up if you've heard the LBQ groan when you've hit the pause button.
Yeah.
We had a big ambassador meeting last night. 20, 30 of them said, put your hand up if you've heard the LBQ groan when you fancy hearing a groan when you stop children from working. That's big.
It's
and
like
then it's the Mr. Hodder, can you unpause me, please? Can you unpause me? Even though I'm still in the middle of teaching, can you unpause me? No, let me just do my teaching now and then we'll let you carry on.
Yeah.
It's at Duncombe, it's like the collective gasp. That's what we call it.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
So how about you, Caroline? Would you feel life would be different if we took it away and you couldn't have it anymore?
Yeah, I just think I'm at the beginning of it, actually. That would be horrible to take something away. I'm now really selling it to the younger year teachers. So year 1, year 2 and year 3 are now using it, which they really weren't much last year. And I'm selling it to the other teachers, so humanities and everything else. It would be awful because I feel like we're just getting to know it. I know I use it a lot, but I feel like I'm just getting to know it.
It's like a good friend.
It is like a good friend.
Yeah, I would be bereft. I would be bereft as well if they took over.
And I think what you just said about the children being the most upset, that speaks volumes, doesn't it, about what they think that's doing for them. You guys have all been an absolute pleasure. Can we do this every break time? Like once a week, we'll get together. I'll provide cake next time. We can do this on the regular. You've all been brilliant. And thank you so much. Maybe we'll catch up with you next year and see how it's been going when you've been using it a bit longer.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.
Bye.